Okay, so to find the IQR of this data set, this is a My Open Math assignment, a question from section 2 that somebody asked about. Um, so to find the IQR, we need to find the lower quartile, the upper. Let me get a pointer going. Maybe that'll show up better than the like just my cursor. Okay, to find the interquartile range IQR, we take the upper quartile and subtract the lower quartile, and that's how far apart the quartiles are, interquartile range. So we're going to find those. Now, this isn't that big a data set for this. I'm not going to show you how to do this by hand. Maybe I will afterwards. Right? That's going to be the last. I'm going to point towards tech for that. In fact, where I'm going to show you will give you the answers for this using tech, which is fine. Small data set, if I say do it by hand, then you'll have to do it by hand. But um, usually I don't say that. So to find the quartiles, I'm using Dr. Stevens' percentile method. So if I'm looking for the lower quartile, that's the bottom 25%. So 0.25 times 18 is 4.5. So we're at, because that's a decimal, we're going to round it up to the next number. So it's the fifth value. So the lower quartile is that 287 number. To find the upper quartile, I found the median here, but I didn't really need to. The reason I did this is because when we use this percentile method, we do 18 times 0.5, we get an integer. And what happens when we get an integer, see the ninth number, we don't want to use the ninth number because there's 18 numbers all told. So halfway between would be the median. See that? See the way I drew that in? So to find the median when this happens, we have to average, or even the quartiles when this happens, we have to average two numbers next to it. So you average the ninth and 10th. And Dr. Stevens talks about that in chapter 2, about what happens. But we don't need that to answer this question. To find the upper quartile, it took 18 times 0.75. I got a decimal. I rounded up, so it's the 14th value. So Chris Spencer's, whatever these are, batting averages. That's the upper quartile. So to find the interquartile range, we subtract those two values, we get 22. Okay, so that's that part. Now to find the standard deviation, remember that's that whole find the mean, subtract them, square them, divide by 17 in this case because it's n minus 1, and then take this, add them all up, divide by 17, and then take the square root. Kind of tedious. So what I'm going to do is point you to some text that'll let you do this. If you don't have a graphing calculator, that's fine. Even if you do have a graphing calculator, I'm really adverse at typing in numbers in the graphing calculator, so I absolutely have to. I'm don't know how versed you folks are in spreadsheets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a Google sheet. I'm a Google sheet fan. A Google that whole suite of tools. It's fantastic. I know it's Google, and I know they're kind of taking over the world, but there'll always be somebody that tries to take over tech. It used to be Microsoft, right? So I've got a spreadsheet open here now. Why the heck am I opening up the spreadsheet? Well, if you come to My Open Math, you can usually select the data. You see the way I went from the bottom left or bottom right up to the top? I'm doing a Control C on a Mac. You got to do Command C. Now I'm going to go over to my spreadsheet, and I'm only going to click once, and it pastes out nicely. That paste in. Now, if it messes up, maybe you double clicked, because if you double clicked, it's like you're entering a cell. See how it all gets dumped in the one single cell? That's useless to it. That doesn't do it for us. Okay. Now sometimes you're doing it right. You clicked once, but the data is not pasting right. If it doesn't work one way, like how I went down and up, start from the right or upper left and go down. It's sometimes just the way you're collecting the hidden characters on the web page. For me, I find it usually works better to go up. Okay, if it really gets bad, get rid of the players and the weights. Sometimes the headers mess it up. So what we need to do is now that I've got those numbers in there, I'm just going to select those numbers. And I get them copied in my clipboard memory. I don't want the names or anything. Now in Canvas here, let me come in here. I'll go to this stat course. and I'll go to modules, and I'll go to course resources. And you see this up? Did it close down on me? Here, I get it collapsed. See that online statistical tools? Click on that. And I've got all these calculators that people have shared me and that I like, and I got them there for you. And this is where you find them now. The website I'm looking for is this dot plot one, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, this is that Rossman Chance. This is not the first time I'm going to send you to Rossman Chance this semester. They do it's a fantastic job. I'm going to get rid of that data that's in there. I'm going to clear it, and then I'm just going to click. Remember how I copy that to memory? I'm just going to paste it in, and then I'm going to use data, and it'll let me know if I'm messing up. It said can't read your data. And then does a dot plot for us. We don't really get into dot plots in this course. It's kind of a way to look at the spread visually. But since we're looking for see these actuals, I mean, this is kind of a learning tool, but it'll give you everything you need. Now notice there's the IQR that we just calculated by hand. So there's that. Now the standard deviation is right there. And that's a sample standard deviation because this is just a sample of players, right? You can go to a histogram, I don't know, chapter 3. You can change your number of bins. I'd probably want to go fewer bins. Oh, too few. Anyways, that's chapter 3 stuff. I don't want to go there yet. But that's how you get. Notice there's the two quartiles, lower quartile, upper quartile, which we subtract. There's the median, there's the mean. And that's how you can get the standard deviation very easily. You can also do this with a spreadsheet. It's not impossible. But this is a nice tool because it's got it's like a Swiss Army knife. It has everything for us. Not everything, but it does do a lot. Okay, so that's that. If that answers your question, stop watching the video. What I'll do is I'll come back to my spreadsheet with this, and I'll show you how to calculate with a spreadsheet, calculate the standard deviation or the variance in the standard deviation. I'm going to type the word mean. This is for me as a human. I'm going to type the word variance. Actually, there's some built-in. There are some built-in. Yeah, what do I want to do? Let me show you. I'm going to do it by hand, and then I'm also going to use the built-in, and we'll compare them, okay? Spreadsheets work very well to calculate the mean and standard deviations and variances. They do some weird stuff with the quartiles. There's many ways to do it. And truthfully, it doesn't really matter that they're not quite right because, it's a spell too. Because all we're trying to do is get a guess. We're trying to figure out the spread of this data so we can talk about it. So it's okay if it's not. I mean, if you're trying to keep a WebAssign or MyOpenMath happy, then it matters. But if it's just trying to do some analysis, what the spreadsheets do for us, it's fine. So I'm going to do this by hand. The first thing I'm going to do is let's find the sum of all these numbers. It's kind of by hand, but not really, right? But I'll walk through the process. Maybe I should write down the formula for this. Yeah, what is the formula for the sample standard deviation? Let's do this. That'll let you know where I'm headed. So to find the standard deviation for a sample, and we usually use a lowercase s for that. We're going to do we're going to take each value. We're going to subtract the mean, and then we're going to divide that by the one. Sorry, I'm thinking standard scores. These scores. Then we square each of those values. We add them all up. That's what the Greek letter sigma means. We divide by n minus 1, and then we take the square root of the whole mess. Before we take the square root, that's the standard deviation, that's the variance, okay? So I'm going to walk through this by hand with a spreadsheet. Well, it's kind of by hand, right? I'm letting the calculator do the spreadsheet, do the heavy lifting. So the way you get a spreadsheet to do a formula, you type in equals, and you type in the word sum. And notice Google Sheets actually suggested that to me, and which usually works well. I use that often. I'm always amazed when it's right. So that's the sum of all those scores. And now because there are 18 players, right? Because there's one, the row one is the names titles. So there's 18 players. So I'm to get the mean. Yeah, I'll come back up here. What is it? 5370. To get the mean, I think I'll just do it over here. I'm going to do equals. I'm going to type 5370 divided by 18. So that's the mean. Let's use the calculator. I think that's what the Ross McChant site said. Let's use the calculator built in. So I'm going to do equals average. And let's see if we agree. Oh, no, I don't want to autofill those. Yep, so see how the by hand it agrees with what the calculator said. So here, let me label this built in. And then okay. Now to get the variance, what we have to do is we have to subtract each value in the data set, the mean from each value in the data set. So here I'm going to say x minus x bar. I could say x minus mu, except it's the mean of this data set. So it surely should be the sample mean x bar. So we could do equals and minus. The trouble with that, if we don't lock in the cell, we're in trouble. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do equals. I'm going to click on the data, but then I'm going to type in by hand minus 298.3333. That's probably close enough. Okay, and then Google spills down for us. Yes, I want that. So we don't want this one because that's the sum. Okay, then the next piece of that thing we do in the formula, see it says square each of those differences. So I'm going to multiply each of these differences by itself. So I'm going to type in x minus x bar squared to the second power. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do equals. I'm going to click on the number I want squared and caret 2. That's shift 6. Okay, if I hit shift 6, I get that little caret, and I'm going to type 2. And that fills down for me. So that's good. Yeah, good. It isn't picking up the, oh, it's got the 0. Let's not do that one. Okay, so that's the x minus x bar squared. Now we have to add all those up. So I'm going to come down here since I've got a sum column going on here. Oh, I'm going to be really lazy here. I'm going to Control C that sum formula. I'm going to paste it in here and get it. Now, if you don't know what I mean by that, you can just come here and say equals sum, parentheses, select all those numbers there. And hit enter. And that's the sum of all the values. Now we're going to divide that by one less than the number of data pieces. So we've got 18. So I'm going to divide that by 17. So 6860. Now this is going to be our variance. Equals 6860 divided by 17, because it's, remember, it's one less than the 18. So that's the variance. And then if we come over here, there's a built-in variance. We do equals variance. And we'll just, sorry, not that one, this one. We're going to do the actual data. I hope this agrees. Let's see. Nope. Name. It doesn't like. It doesn't like my word variance. Or maybe it's var. I don't know. Var variance. Here we go. Oh, look at that. It agrees, huh? I know it's, and then we're going to take the square root of this answer to get the standard deviation. So let me clear off. I'm going to clear off my formula so we can see it. Those agree. Now to get the standard deviation, I'm just going to take the square root of that number. So equals SQRT for square root. Parentheses, click on it, we get that. Now we could do the same thing here, but there's also a built-in standard deviation formula. So I'm going to do equals STDEV. Now there's a whole bunch of standard deviations. I'm going to admit, guys, I don't use any of them. Maybe this is the sample standard deviation. I don't know. I'm really old school in some of my spreadsheet skills. So I'm just going to do A equals STDEV, select the raw data, enter, and here we go. So that's another way to find the standard deviation. Honestly, if you're using a spreadsheet, if I'm not saying do it by hand, use the built-in formulas. You don't have to do this by hand, okay? Since I'm here talking, let's see what happens with the quartiles. Do we know what those right answers are? See, I'll show you that spreadsheets aren't always reliable to calculate a statistical quartile, at least not the quartile. Quartiles. I'll share the spreadsheet too. So if I'm looking for Q1, I'm do equals, what you do is you start typing the word quartile, and then I believe what it is, you select the data, and then we're going to do comma 1 for the first quartile. And look, I think that, and then to find the third quartile, so Q3, we're going to do equals quartile, select the data, comma, and then we're going to do 3 because it's the third quartile. 308.75. See how those are a little bit different? Let's see, where's that Rossman chance applet? Well, let's do the IQR with these numbers. Whoops, Dan, what are you doing? IQR, whoops. I don't know what I'm doing. IQR. So equals Q3 minus Q1. That's 20. I think we got 22 when we did it by hand. So you see how those are a little bit different. And our 22 is right. So this is doing, it's like they're including the median. It sounds like an inclusive versus exclusive. I've never sat, I tried to figure it out once. And I said, this doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not going to do it. So, but it's certainly good estimates and analyze data. Okay, long enough video. Let me know if you need help. Okay, guys, I got all that time. I try to take Sundays off from it. And actually, I had Saturday off too. But off that Setmore website, here, let me come out there. Actually, let me just not do that. Let me come in through the Canvas side. Dashboard, stats. This is it's the same link for both courses. There's that website. If you click on that calendar, click, yeah, okay, and then click on Live Math Help. And this is what I have available tomorrow. You got to plan ahead by 12 hours. Tomorrow I've only got those 2 slots available. But Tuesday there should be. I'm from 3 to 5. I try to make myself available each week unless something's up. Wednesday. What's happening on Wednesday? Something's happening on Wednesday that I gotta boogie out of here. Some meetings happening at school and I don't remember what it is. All right, but that's you. So what you do is, like, if say you want to meet with me Wednesday, put your name, first name, last name's good here. I would use your CCV email unless you like use your private email. I've never gotten any spam from Setmore, so it's a safe website. Well, it's as safe as any website is. I'll say that. And what you'll do is, if you include your email address, you'll get an alert when it's coming. You'll get an appointment saying that it's scheduled. You get an alert about an hour before to remind you. And then if you want, you can tell me what we're going to look at. That maybe if I get some time, I can prep for it a little bit. It works well. It works. I know it's not. It's just you and me on the Zoom meeting, unless we want a couple of people in, and it just works really well. It's as good as being in person, except we just don't have to travel anywhere. Okay, well, that's long enough video. Let me know what you need. Let's see, I gotta close that. I'm gonna stop my share and hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. It's Memorial Day Sunday and Memorial Day weekend 2023 when I'm recording this.